The Peace-Maintaining Committee, which consisted of Army, Army Forces, Navy, and Air Forces, as well as the National Police, has to take control of power to administrate the country from the 22nd of May 2014, from the time of 1630 onwards.
The Royal Thai Army made that declaration after months of street demonstrations by anti-government protesters that had paralyzed the country's politics, forced out the sitting prime minister, and hurt the economy. But why did the soldiers act now? We have Simon Long of The Economist magazine on Skype. Long covers Southeast Asia and writes about Thailand.
I think they were always planning to hold a coup if they had to. Their favourite option perhaps would have been to get the Shinawatra clan, that's the exiled Thaksin Shinawatra, the former Prime Minister, his sister Yingluck, another former Prime Minister, to agree to some arrangement where they would remove themselves from politics and a government that the army and the Bangkok elite, the establishment, could live with, would replace them. Understandably, the Shinawatras did not agree to that. And in those circumstances, yes, I think a coup always was on the cards.
Well, none of that bodes very well. It would seem to me that the anti-Thaksin forces feel military rule is their best short-term hope. Do you think that's true?
One has to make a distinction. I think the movement that has been on the streets, although its leader, Suthep Thaugsuban, was among those detained, I think most of them are glad that this has happened. They saw they weren't getting anywhere with their street movement and getting rid of the Thaksins, the Shinawatras, and so they would be pleased with this. The Democrat Party, the main opposition in Parliament, of course, being called Democrats and being a parliamentary party, has some difficulty in openly coming out and saying that they support the coup. But I suspect that in private, they too are quite pleased at the way things have turned out. The resistance to this is going to come from Thaksin supporters, some of them on the streets in Bangkok who have been protesting rather gently today, but perhaps more importantly from the core grassroots supporters, the so-called red shirts, most of whom are from the north and northeast, come from poor rural farming backgrounds. And it's how they accept this, the extent to which they can be stopped from protesting, the extent to which their leaders can all be rounded up and them basically suppressed, that is going to determine the success of this operation.
Do you get a sense, Simon, that other countries, including the U.S., are somewhat relieved that the military stepped in to end this crisis?
Well, the reaction earlier in the week at the first stage of this two-stage coup, when the army declared martial law but didn't go as far as deposing the government, that seemed to get quite a muted reaction, and there seemed to be some hope in foreign governments that maybe this was a way to reach some solution to what had been a deadlock that had lasted over 6 months and appeared deeply destabilizing. However, now that they've gone as far as an actual out-and-out coup, Western governments seem to have little option but to condemn it, and as the United States has done, as Britain has done, as the European Union have done. So I think they're going to find it hard now to roll back on that and say that they can find a way of living with unmitigated military rule.
Simon Long is a correspondent for The Economist. He writes for the magazine's Banyan column on Asia.
Now on U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.